So I bought a lake house last year. It still feels weird to even type that because I never thought I'd be able to afford something like this. I worked myself into the ground for years, taking on extra jobs, living in tiny apartments, skipping vacations, and funneling every spare dollar into savings. I'm 34 now, and after a decade of living extremely frugally, I finally signed the papers on this place. It wasn't cheap either. $715,000. I know that's a ridiculous amount of money, and believe me when I say I was shaking when I signed the closing documents. It's not a mansion or anything, but it's right on the water. It's got a big deck, 3 bedrooms, and a little dock where I can fish or just sit with a coffee in the morning. To me, it feels like I finally reached a finish line I've been crawling toward for most of my adult life. When I closed on it, my parents and my younger sister were supportive at first. They came to visit, brought wine and snacks, and made a big deal about how proud they were. I remember my mom telling me that I deserved it after all the years I worked my tail off. My dad kept going on about the view and how he couldn't believe someone from our family actually owned a house like this. My sister, who's 28, kept joking that she'd move in as my roommate since she couldn't dream of affording something like this anytime soon. At the time, I laughed it off and didn't think she meant anything serious by it. But over the next few months, I started to realize they weren't really joking. My sister lives at home still. She's had a string of jobs that never last more than a year or two, and she spends a lot of time hopping from hobby to hobby without ever committing to anything. She's not a bad person, just not very stable. She's had credit card debt for years, and whenever my parents talk about her, it always circles back to how life is harder for her or how she's just not as lucky. What they mean by lucky is that I worked my ass off while she chose a different lifestyle. I don't say that to be cruel, but that's the truth. About 3 months after I moved into the lake house, my parents sat me down during a Sunday dinner. They started talking about how things were getting tight at home and how my sister was feeling trapped. Then my mom dropped the line that caught me off guard. She said, "We told your sister she could move in with you for a while, just until she gets back on her feet." I kind of froze because they hadn't asked me beforehand. They literally promised her something that involved my house, my space, my life, without even talking to me about it first. I asked them to repeat themselves, and my dad just nodded like it was already decided. He said it made sense since I had all this space and wasn't even using it. That set something off in me because I worked too damn hard to finally have peace and privacy in my own place, and now they were acting like it was community property. I told them I wasn't comfortable with that. I explained that I bought the house for myself, that I finally had somewhere to breathe, and that I wasn't looking for a roommate. My mom looked like I'd slapped her across the face. She said, "How can you be so cruel? She's your sister." My dad joined in saying family helps family and that it wasn't fair for me to hoard a 3-bedroom house when my sister was struggling. I pointed out that I pay the entire mortgage, all the bills, all the upkeep, and that no one helped me save for this. If I let her move in, it wouldn't just be temporary. She'd never leave. I've watched her do this exact thing with my parents. Every time they say it's temporary, years go by. Things got ugly after that. My sister didn't talk to me for weeks, then texted me saying she couldn't believe I was choosing money over family. I didn't respond right away because I was so angry. When I finally did, I told her she was an adult and that I wasn't responsible for fixing her situation. My parents, meanwhile, kept calling me selfish. My mom cried on the phone about how she thought she raised a more generous child. My dad told me that having an empty guest room while your sister is in pain was shameful. It's been months of this back and forth, and honestly, I'm exhausted. The worst part is that I feel guilty even though I know I shouldn't. I worked through college with 2 jobs while my sister dropped out after a year because she said it was boring. I lived on ramen noodles for years while she went out drinking and shopping with credit she couldn't afford. I stayed up until 3 a.m. doing freelance projects so I could make enough to keep putting into savings. Now suddenly I'm lucky and I'm selfish because I don't want to sacrifice the one thing I've finally built for myself. They act like my house just fell into my lap, when really it's the product of a decade of burnout and saying no to every fun thing, so I could afford this. When I think about it logically, I know saying no was the right choice. I know my sister wouldn't just move in for a while. She'd settle in, make excuses, and it would become a permanent thing. Then my parents would say, "Well, she's already there. What's the harm in letting her stay?" I'd lose my sanctuary, the very reason I worked so hard. The thing is, knowing it was the right choice doesn't stop me from feeling like I'm the villain in my family. Every conversation I have with them ends with some jab about how I don't care about anyone but myself. My mom keeps telling extended family members about how difficult I'm being, and now I've got cousins messaging me asking why I can't just help out for a little while. It's humiliating. Sometimes I just sit on my deck staring out at the water, wondering why my own family can't just be happy for me. I finally did something good, something stable, something that makes me proud of myself. Instead of celebrating it, they're trying to claim it. It feels like no matter how much I give, it'll never be enough. If I cave and let her move in, they'll find another way to guilt me. If I stand my ground, I'm heartless. I don't know how to win here. I just know I don't want to lose myself or the life I built by letting them steamroll me. But it's so hard not to feel like I'm standing completely alone.